Bands such as Joy Division, Happy Mondays and The Smiths turned Manchester into a musical powerhouse since the 60s through the 90s and into the modern age. It remains a beacon of British musical ingenuity, and thousands of musicians today strive to keep its tradition alive. The challenges facing young musicians and unestablished artists have grown with the advent of new media, meaning it's much harder to stand out from the crowd. Manchester has a rich history, but how are young people today going to keep this tradition alive? With the economic downturn and massive competition, can young people really compete with a massive funding of the record labels? And how hard is it to make a track for the modern age? Is a track made on software and a laptop as good as a real instrument in a real studio? We're going to find out. Nowadays, however, music can be made much easier, can be distributed much cheaper, and is much more accessible to the public with the development of software and the internet's ability to distribute to a mass audience. But how exactly has the music making process changed since the 60s and 70s? We spoke to Professor Jim O'Shea, a man who's been involved in the making of music for the last 40 years, to see how he feels music production has changed.
The process was all very physical. The workflow is quite difficult and quite different, because if you think back to when I first started using studios in the 1970s, most studios were 4-track tape recording in total. Now, how do you make a song with a band to be mixed down with 4 tracks? So what we've seen is a move away from tape-based recording.
The equipment required to produce music has developed massively over the last 40 years, to the point where a full recording studio can almost be condensed into a tiny software package that can run off a moderately powerful PC or laptop.
Now, everything is very different. We have computer-based control, so we record digitally, not onto tape. We have virtual instruments that we can play, so physical instruments, so we have no cabled connections. We have a lot of VST processors that we can put in now. So you have access to a lot of equipment that you didn't have in those days, and you can automate things with that equipment quite a lot that you couldn't in the past. So you've got your recording method, you've got your processing, you've got your final production mix down is done on the computer.
We met to discuss possible directions we wanted our music to take. We discussed genres, themes and styles, and also the logistics of the music making process, as we intended to have many different musicians at different locations recording live instruments. We went to Wales to try the traditional method of recording drums in a soundproof environment to examine the pros and cons of live recording. Setting up a drum kit can take a lot of time, and in this industry, time is money. We set up the mics and had Ian, our resident drummer, record some samples which we will bring back to the studio later for testing. What we want to do is to produce a track using some of the traditional methods as well as a modern day approach of software-based production. We want to look at the benefits of the advances in music production as well as the disadvantages of modern equipment over traditional analogue equipment. We spoke to Terry Robinson, also known as Purple Rhapsody, to get his views on modern day music production. Terry explained to us how the cost of production has decreased in recent times.
I'm producing music, I've bought some equipment. It's been a decent outlay, but it's not been bank breaking, and I can certainly produce tracks to a decent sound quality.
So I've looked at these drum tracks that I've recorded before, and the quality of them's okay, but they're quite hard to work with. There's not really much I can do with these. The song directions changed slightly and they're pretty much useless now. I'm going to have to re-record.
This problem can be overcome by programming drums using a software program such as Logic. Here Ian is making a similar drum beat to that which he recorded live. The live environment effect can be easily replicated on the computer using VSTs, otherwise known as virtual instruments. By making music in this way, changes can be made with the click of a mouse, which saves producers thousands on recording costs. Here Ian has uploaded his drum samples to Dropbox, an online tool for uploading files which can be instantly shared between groups of people anywhere in the world. Having access to tools like this means musicians can share files instantly, and so do not have to schedule meetings in recording studios, making the whole process faster and more efficient. Here Alex is programming musical notes into the PC on what's called a piano roll. This means anyone, regardless of musical ability, can create music by moving notes around and playing back in real time. We went to Brian's house to record some synth lines for the final track. The equipment you see here is relatively low cost in comparison to what you find in a professional recording studio. However, the quality is not compromised and is connected directly into the PC for editing. Next, we went to Chris's house to record some guitar riffs for the final track. Using a simple setup with a mic connected to a sound card and laptop, we were able to record straight into our software, meaning we can easily edit it at a later date to suit our requirements.
If you're trying to produce a good piece of music, it doesn't matter what the genre is, it doesn't matter what the equipment is. You need good space to spread out in, you need a good acoustic environment, and you need a good supporting environment.
The vocals for the track were recorded using a simple mic setup in a soundproof environment. Again, the vocals were recorded straight into our software package, which means they can be sequenced and mixed very simply using the PC.
Looking down upon the city, bright lights of fast cars, follow the streets at night and trust me, you can see it all. Dreams of becoming a star, my focus on my mission, I would have never gotten this far if I didn't pay attention.
The analogue stuff, you know, it's there, it's hands-on. I don't think there'll ever be a substitute for fully hands-on.
There are also some people who'd say we lose quality because we've stopped using analogue equipment, which has its own inherent additions to the quality.
We used the computer to control an old analog synthesizer, which enabled us to play MIDI notes through it. This means we can pull old equipment into the digital age. In fact, it's predicted that the development of virtual instruments is encouraging people to go out and buy their real-life analog counterpart, which has seen the price of analog equipment escalate in recent years. Once the different instruments and tracks have been sequenced in the correct order, the music needs to be mixed. This is the process by which a multitude of recorded sounds are combined into one or more channels, most commonly 2-channel stereo. In the process, the source signals level, frequency content, dynamics and panoramic position are manipulated and effects such as reverb may be added. This practical, aesthetic or otherwise creative treatment is done in order to produce a mix that is more appealing to listeners.
From very small amount of time, being able to knock one out in an evening on your own computer, at home, in your own environment, a track can be knocked out very quickly. On the other hand, you get things like the best example is Axl Rose, Chinese Democracy, 15 years to make, because we have a luxury. It's given us the luxury of being able to work in our own time now. We don't have the pressure to produce in the same way that we had in the past. Piracy of music has drawn investment capital out of the industry, and that's leading to the collapse. The distribution side has been hammered and the production side has been enhanced, so that's the basic problem. So what we see now is the challenge to come up with ways to make people buy your music or give you money. To give you money because they like you, because they don't have to anymore, because they can steal your work.
Distributing music has become a lot easier in recent times with the insurgence of music hosting websites such as MySpace and SoundCloud. When a track has been finished, it can be distributed to a worldwide audience within minutes. YouTube has been used as a platform to launch acts such as Lily Allen and Justin Bieber, and is becoming a more and more powerful tool for producers as a free advertising platform for their music.
I think that technology is fantastic. In my situation, there's no way that I'd have a number of CDs available for people to buy on iTunes, on Amazon, you know, so on. There's no way that 25 years ago that would be possible. So I think that overall technology means that the people with kind of less budget, less resources can produce something which other people are happy to hear and aren't going to listen to and go, oh my god, that sounds rubbish.
Once we mixed our track, we uploaded it to the internet through sites like SoundCloud and YouTube. This means it is now available to listen to by a worldwide audience. This sort of distribution in the past would have cost tens of thousands. Of course, nowadays mainstream artists will still use a studio to get the most crisp sound, but more and more DJs and young artists still like to make music on the road. We have proven that music can be easily produced to a low budget, and that it can be of sufficient quality to be distributed to the world. Is our track successful? only time can tell.